Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of our guests today on this Friday are brought to you by The Sim at the Arnold Palmer Design Whistler Golf Club, reminding guests of Whistler this winter to come play some of the world's best courses like Pebble Beach, St. Andrews, and more via The Sim. Reserve your golf simulator time for you and your friends. It's a good night out or day on The Sim at whistlergolf.com/academy. We've just been informed that Thatcher Demko, first goaltender off the ice today at Rogers Arena, which means he's going to get the start.
Get his confidence back. Get the guy that last year everyone was talking about, the best goalie in the world.
Did he reject a trade to Ottawa? Do we know?
No Canuck rejected a trade to Ottawa.
Joining us now, as always, on a Friday from The Athletic and Sportsnet 650, Canucks and Kings tonight, Rogers Arena. Thomas Drance, how are you, sir?
I'm doing okay.
Okay.
I'm doing well. I mean, I don't know. I'm at Rogers Arena.
Pick up your enthusiasm level.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? This is a game tonight that I think should make Canucks fans really mad.
Why?
Win or lose, Canucks fans should be furious about how much better the Los Angeles Kings are than the Vancouver Canucks. You know, you think about it this way. Before the Kings rebuild, right, in the 2017-18 season, the Kings made the playoffs with 98 points, okay? That was the last time the Kopitar, Pearson, Toffoli crew made the playoffs as a team. A couple months later, the Canucks drafted Quinn Hughes. Okay, think about that. At that point, the Canucks added Hughes to Pettersson along the way of their rebuild. And it's only after that Los Angeles decides that, hey, you know what? We're not good enough. We should rebuild. After the Canucks have already taken both Pettersson and Hughes. And 3 years of disciplined rebuilding later, right? Jettisoning Pearson and Martinez and Muzzin and Toffoli for draft picks. The Los Angeles Kings have lapped them. They didn't even start their rebuild until after Pettersson and Hughes were already Canucks property. That should make everyone furious. Like steam coming out of people's ears, particularly when they see the gap in quality. I'm not saying LA's for sure going to win tonight or anything. They still have issues in goal. They still need to find another elite talent up front. But look at the quality of play, the golfing quality tonight. Watch that. Pay attention to it, because that should be completely intolerable to Canucks fans and anyone internally with this organization. Yeah,
early in the season, but the Kings are 10 points ahead of the Canucks. You touched on it there. What do you like about what the Kings have done? For one thing, in my opinion, they have a focus on something. What do you like about what the Kings have done?
Yeah, I like the way that they went about making sure that they got maximum futures for basically everybody outside of, their real legacy players, right? Brown, Quick, Kopitar, Doughty, right? Those are the four holdovers. Everyone else, they didn't fall in love with. They traded them on, and they traded them on in good packages, useful packages, and, mined a really solid group of players out of that. The other thing I liked is that they really prioritized and built a surplus on the back end. We all know how hard it is for teams to acquire defensemen. Well, LA's, got defensemen, right-handed defensemen sort of pouring out of their ears, right? I mean, they're literally overflowing with talented right-handed defensemen, both at the NHL level and beneath it. And that, is why they're able to pounce on Kevin Fiala, right? They have the surplus of draft picks. They've used it to get players, not just make picks, right? They've used it to trade for Victor Arvidsson. They've used it to trade for Kevin Fiala. And they've got more to come. And still a group of young forwards who haven't quite hit in terms of being impact players at the NHL level. Although Gabe Vilardi, as sort of a proof of concept, has leveled up significantly this year. And there's still more coming. There's still more guys who could be in that mold, who could be really helpful for them down the line. Plus, they still have the cap flexibility, particularly with Jonathan Quick expiring after this season, and the arsenal of trade assets that if any big names hit the market, they're the team prepared to pounce. And when I think about all of that, I think what I'm most envious of if I put myself in the shoes of a Canucks fan and look at what the Kings have done, it's this, gentlemen. The Kings have found a way where, because they rebuilt with such discipline for a 3-year stretch, they're going to be able to give Kopitar and Doughty another kick at the can in the playoffs with a really good team. The sort of kick at the can that this organization categorically failed to give Henrik and Daniel Sedin a decade ago.
Thomas, as you know, the temperature is hot, especially around the head coach. We've heard names like Rick Tocchet and Andrew Burnett. What's your feel? I mean, I was told this morning, nothing's imminent with a coaching change, just kind of, checking around, seeing what's out there. But what are your thoughts when it comes to Bruce Boudreau?
Yeah, I just feel bad for Bruce Boudreau.
Everybody does.
I mean, it's not on him. It's not on him, no more than it was on Travis Green. I mean, how can you have two coaches come in, be as diametrically opposed, both in personality and relative strengths and approach, as Green and Boudreau are, and they have the exact same results with the exact same group of players, right? To think that a coach can get more out of this group when both Green and Boudreau have failed in the exact same way, and the personnel is the same. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the definition of insanity on me, gentlemen, but it feels pretty close to that. You feel bad for him. And, it's funny that Tocchet and Brunette, I find it ironic that Tocchet and Brunette are sort of the main names out there, seeing as Tocchet is so closely connected with Green, right, as good friends. And Brunette is actually far closer connected to Boudreau than I think people realize. I mean, he was on Boudreau's coaching staff. They were both in Minnesota during the dysfunctional Fenton season. I think both were unimpressed with the 1-year Wild GM. I think they became close in that season. So, connections abound in this list of potential replacements, which to me just adds to the sense of unfairness that should linger around Boudreau. This isn't on him. We know who he is as a coach. We know he knows how to win games. I just do not buy, and I don't think the hockey world buys that that he is the problem with this team.
Yeah, I've been told the Devils are not very happy with that report. They've won 11 straight. They don't need kind of distraction.
Why would they be, right? Why would
they're not. I was told they're not happy at all.
The Burnett report.
Yeah, Burnett report. I mean, it just came out of the blue.
Of course. It's a distraction that they don't need, particularly given that they've gone through a lot of, they've gone through the pipe like Tim Robbins in Shawshank Redemption, right? And right now they're finally out. They're bathing in the rain in the lake, free from the walls, which they've been ensconced in for the last 10 years of mediocrity. Now they look like one of the best teams in the league, and this comes along, a bomb from a flailing organization out west. Yeah, I can understand why they'd be peeved by that. I would be too in there.
Donnie, I don't get the sense there's a ton of trade talk with the Canucks right now. I think it's going to pick up after 20-25 games. When it comes to Bo Horvat, the preference is to sign him, Thomas. I was told again, but if the Canucks get a great offer, they'll look at it. But I would think the first week of February is when the pressure point will be there for a Horvat trade. Thomas, what do you think?
I think you should get out ahead on the Horvat thing. One thing to note when you look around this particular trade market ahead of the deadline is, for once, I haven't said this many times over the last 15 years, Donnie, or excuse me, Rick. But Rick, thanks, Donnie.
Big difference there.
Man, you are fired up today.
Yeah.
Sorry, I haven't said this many times over the last 15 years. There's a lot of centermen potentially available. Right? How many times have we said that? There's a lot of impact centermen potentially available on the trade market ahead of the deadline, right? You've got Jonathan Toews in Chicago. He's got the full NMC. He's got Pat Brisson as his agent, right? So you know that Toews is going to control that entire process. But if Toews wants to move, it's very clear from all industry chatter reporting by my colleagues at The Athletic, including Pierre LeBrun, that, Chicago is going to do what they can to do right by him, and that might include retaining money to send him to a contender as well. There's also Ryan O'Reilly. The Blues won last night, but if they don't turn it around, Ryan O'Reilly's expiring. He also is represented by Pat Morris, same agent as Bo Horvat. Can you imagine a contender? Can you imagine a Colorado or a Florida being like, hey, our new third line center is Ryan O'Reilly? Doesn't that sound appealing? That's a player that could be available too. and then you get to Bo Horvat. Horvat would probably have the most value of those three, but also those other two has been the best player on a Stanley Cup winner pedigree, right? I mean, those guys are outsized giants of the game. I don't think you want to be in a position, if you're Vancouver, where teams are really deciding between those three, particularly in the event that team is able to land Jonathan Toews, who controls the whole process. I think you're probably best off getting out ahead of it, establishing the market as opposed to waiting, particularly given how muddy and sort of crowded the center market is uniquely ahead of this trade deadline, or at least it could be. So, we'll see. I don't think it makes a lick of sense to re-sign a 27-year-old given where this club is positioned. I also am increasingly fading that as a possibility, Rick. At the end of the day, It speaks volumes to me that the organization hasn't been actively engaged in talks with Horvat's camp. If they truly had a preference to extend him, and maybe they're just not engaged because they need to clear out money elsewhere first or something like that. I mean, but I don't see them being able to accomplish that. And I think if Horvat was truly a priority or a true preference, work would be getting done on that file. You'd be setting yourself up to get that deal done quickly. It doesn't feel like the organization's doing that.
Yes or no, quickly, Thomas. Kyle Burroughs in the lineup tonight, do we know?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I probably would have seen. I'm guessing no.
Okay.
I'm guessing no, and that makes no sense to me. I don't even have an argument for Kyle Burroughs being any less than the third best defenseman on this team this year, which is great for Kyle Burroughs, maybe not so great for this team, but nonetheless, what more can you ask from a guy like Burroughs? He's been great.
Yeah, Rick has no problem with that decision.
Hey, stop. Hey, Stillman's in, and you know why Stillman's in, Thomas. The GM acquired him. The GM didn't acquire him to
yes
sit him
or
in the
no.
press box, Thomas.
Okay, well, if you want to win games, you should have Kyle Burroughs in the lineup, period.
Yeah, well, he was great in Buffalo. He should be playing tonight, Thomas. We all agree.
He was playing big minutes toward the end of the game,
Third
too.
period. His last 7
Doesn't
minutes.
make sense.
Just to recap, you're Thomas, I'm Don, he's Rick. Thanks for this, Thomas. Appreciate it.
Have a good weekend, boys. Enjoy the game.
No problem. Started out slow, then he got on fire there.
He needs some sugar in his coffee, that guy.
No, he came with fire.
He did.
Heat. A lot of energy there. And despite the cardigan sweater.